My dear friend, you're not hurt.
No.
My deepest apologies. You'll find my place shockingly managed. What was that herb that excited him so?
Wolfsbane.
Wolfsbane, what's that? I thought I knew all the drugs in the pharmacopoeia.
It's one of the hermaphytes. Pliny the Elder mentions it. It grows only in the wilds of central Russia.
But why did you bring it with you?
It is a form of preventative medicine.
Well, we live in that. I never heard of it.
Seward, I want you to have that lunatic securely watched.
Anything you say, Dr. Van Helsing. But it's Lucy I want you to look after first.
I want to keep this man under observation.
An interesting maniac, no doubt, but surely you see my daughter.
I must see the records of his case.
But doctor!
Do you think I've forgotten why I am here?
Forgive me. Of course, I'll show you the records. But I don't understand why you're so curious about Mr. Dracula. Because in your vast experience with such a madman, you really should have considered. Why, I thought they were here, Lucy.
Sean, do you think this new man will be any better than the others?
I'm sure he will. Anyway, Lucy, now that I'm back, I'm going to stay with you until you get over this thing.
Oh, John, but can you? You work in town.
You come first.
I don't think you'd better stay, John. Sometimes I feel I want to be alone.
My dear, how can you say that? You don't want me to be with you when you're so ill? You do love me, don't you?
Yes, John, with all my soul.
Just as soon as you're better, I'm going to take you away. We'll be married next month. We won't wait till June. We'll stretch that honeymoon months to 3 months, and the house will be ready for us in July.
John, you think we could?
Of course, why not? My mother wanted us to wait, but she'll understand. And besides, I want to get you away. Why do you shrink when I kiss you? You're so cold, Lucy. Always so cold now.
Oh, forgive me, dear. I'm yours. All yours. John, I'm so tired. So tired.
Lucy, dear, this is my old friend, Professor Van Helsing.
Ah, my dear Miss Seward. You don't remember poor old Van Helsing? I knew you when you were a little girl. No, so high. And now, what charm. What beauty. A little pale, yes, but we'll bring the roses back to the cheeks.
You were so kind to come, Professor.
And this, no doubt, is the fortunate young man you are to marry.
Yes, John Harker, Professor. Look here, Professor, I'm not going to get in your way. But if Dr. Seward will have me, I'm going to make him give me a bed here until Lucy gets over this thing. It's absolute hell being away in London, and of course I can't do any work. You're most welcome to stay, my boy.
Indeed, yes. I should have asked you to stay. I may need you. Now lie back so. Now tell me, when did this weakness first come upon you?
2 nights after poor Mina was buried, I had a bad dream.
A bad dream? Tell me about it.
I remember hearing dogs barking before I went to sleep. The air seemed oppressive. I left the reading lamp up by my bed, but when the dream came, there seemed to come a mist in the room.
Was the window open?
Yes, I always sleep with my window open.
No, of course. You're English. We Continentals are not so particular about the fresh air. And then?
The mist seemed so thick I could just see the lamp by my bed. A tiny spark in the fog, and then I saw 2 red eyes staring at me, and a livid white face looking down at me out of the mist. It was horrible, horrible!
There. Go on. Please.
The next morning, my maid could scarcely wake me. I felt weak and languid. Some part of my life seemed to have gone from me.
There have been other such dreams.
Every night since then has come the mist. The red eyes of that awful face.
You've tried transfusion twice. Each time she recovered her strength.
But then would come another dream. And now I dread the night. I know it seems absurd, Professor, but please, don't laugh at me.
I'm not likely to laugh. And how long have you had these little red marks on your throat?
Since that first morning.
Lucy, why didn't you tell us? Lucy, you've worn that scarf around your throat. Tie them.
Do not press her. Do not excite her. Well?
I was worried. For I knew that Mina had them.
Quite right, Miss Lucy. Quite right. They're nothing. And Old Van Helsing will see that these dreams trouble you no more.
Count Dracula.
Good evening, Count.
Gentlemen. How are you, Miss Seward? You are looking more yourself this evening.
I feel better already, Count. Now that Father's old friend has come to help me.
Count Dracula, Professor Van Helsing.
A most distinguished scientist whose names we've heard in the wilds of Transylvania. But I interrupt a consultation.
Oh, not at all, Count. It's good of you to come, and we appreciate your motives.
Yes, Dr. Seward has just informed me of your offer, and I can't thank you enough.
It is nothing, my friend. I should be grateful to help Miss Lucy in any way.
Oh, what you do, Count. I look forward to your visits. They seem to make me better.
And so I arrived to find a rival in the field.
You encourage me, Miss Seward, to make them more frequent, as I should like to.
I am always glad to see you.
Ah, but you have been lonely here, and my efforts to amuse you with our old tales will no longer have the same success. Now that the professor is here with you, and the fact that Mr. Harker is to remain here.
How did you know I was going to stay, Count?
Can the gallant lover ask a question? I merely inferred it, my friend.
You're right. Nothing is going to shift me now until Lucy's as fit as a fiddle again.
Nothing.
Please come as before, Count. Won't you?
You understand. You will not answer bells. She must not be alone for a single moment, under any circumstances. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Good. Your maid will take you to your room. Try to rest for a little, while I talk to your father.
Oh, Wells, remember, don't leave her alone for a moment.
Oh, no, sir.
Professor Van Helsing, so you have come from the land of the tulip to cure the nervous prostration of this charming girl. I wish you all the success.
Thank you, Count.
Do I appear officious, Dr. Seward? You see, I am a lonely man, and you are my only neighbors here at Carfax. And your trouble has touched me greatly.
Count, I'm more grateful for your sympathy than I can say.
You, like myself, are a stranger in England, Count.
Yes, but I love England and the great London. So different from my own Transylvania, where there's so few people and so little opportunities.
Opportunity, Count?
For my investigations, Professor.
Now, I hope you haven't regretted buying that old ruin across there.
Oh, Carfax is not a ruin, Doctor. The dust was somewhat deep, but we are used to it in Transylvania.
Do you plan to remain in England, Count?
I think so, my friend. You see, the walls of my castle are broken, the shadows are many, and I am the last of my race.
It's a lonely spot you've chosen, Carfax.
It is. And when I hear the dogs howling far and near, I think of myself back in my castle Dracula with its broken battlements.
Ah, yes, the dogs howl when there are wolves about, don't they?
They do, my friend. They even howl here as well, although there are no wolves. But you wish to consult this with the anxious father and the specialist. May I read a book in the study, Dr. Seward? I am so anxious to hear what the professor has to say, and to learn if I could be of any help.
By all means, Count. Very kind of Count Dracula with his damned untimely friendliness. But come now, what about my daughter?
Yes, Professor. What do you think's the matter with Lucy?
Your patient, that interesting Renfield, does not like the smell of wolfsbane.
Good heavens, what has that got to do with Lucy?
Perhaps nothing.
In God's name, Professor, is there anything unnatural or occult about this business?
Colt! Van Helsing, no!
Ah, Seward, let me remind you that the superstitions of today are the scientific facts of tomorrow. Science can now transmute the electron, the basis of all matter, into energy. What is that but the dematerialization of matter? Yet, dematerialization has been known and practiced in India for centuries. In Java, I myself have seen things.
My dear old friend, you cannot fill that final brain of yours with that Eastern moonshine.
Moonshine?
But anyway, come now, what about my daughter?
Ah, Seward, if you won't listen, it'll be harder to believe than any Eastern moonshine. If you won't forget your textbooks. Keep it up in mind then, Seward. Your daughter's life may pay for your pig-headedness.
No, go on, Professor.
I'm listening.
And I must ask you to listen calmly to what I'm going to say. Sit down. You have both heard the legends of Central Europe about the werewolf, the vampires.
You mean ghosts who suck the blood of the living?
If you wish to call them ghosts, I call them the undead.
For God's sake, man, are you suggesting that Mina, and now Lucy?
Of course. I've read these horrible folktales of the Middle Ages, Van Helsing. But I know you better than to suppose
Did
that...
I believe them? I do believe them.
You mean to tell us that vampires do exist, and that Mina and Lucy have been attacked by one?
Your English doctors would all laugh at such a theory. Your police, your public, would laugh. The strength of a vampire is that people will not believe in him.
Is this the help you bring us?
Do not despise it!
Doctor, this case has stumped all of your specialists. Go on, Professor.
Vampires are rare. Nature abhors them. The forces of good combine to destroy them. Yet a few of these creatures have lived on for centuries.
What is a vampire?
A vampire, my friend, is a man or a woman who is dead, and yet not dead. A thing that lives after its death by drinking the blood of the living. Must have blood, or it dies. Its power lasts only from sunset to sunrise. During the hours of the day, it must rest in the earth in which it was buried. During the hours of the night, it is the power to prey upon the living. My friend, you're thinking you'll have to put me amongst your patients.
Van Helsing, I don't know what to think, but I confess I simply can't follow you.
What makes you think that Lucy has been attacked by such a creature?
Dr. Seward's written an account of these young ladies' symptoms. At once aroused my suspicion. Anemia? The blood of 3 men was forced into the veins of Miss Mina, yet she died from loss of blood. Where did it go? Had your specialists any answer? The vampire attacks the throat, leaving 2 small wounds. White, red centers. Seward, you wrote me of these 2 marks on Miss Mina's throat. An accident with a safety pin, you said? So I thought. I suspected. I did not know, but I came on the instant, and what do I find? These same 2 wounds on Miss Lucy's throat. Another safety pin, Dr. Seward?
Do you mean to say that you drew up all this nightmare out of a mere safety pin? It's true I can't make out why she had those marks from us.
I can tell you that.
But I don't believe it. Of course Lucy's trouble can't be that.
I do believe it. This theory accounts for all the facts that nobody's been able to explain. We'll take her away where this thing can't get at her.
She will not want to go.
What?
If you force her, the shock may be fatal.
But why won't she go if we tell her her life depends on it?
Because the victim of a vampire becomes his creature, linked to him in life and after death.
Oh, Professor, this is too much.
Lucy become an unclean thing? A demon?
Yes, Hunter. Now, will you help me?
Yes, anything. Tell me what to do.
It is dangerous work. Our lives are at stake. But so is Miss Lucy's life. So is her soul. We must stamp out this monster.
How do we stamp it out now?
This undead thing lies helpless by day, in the earth or tomb in which it was buried.
A corpse in a coffin.
A corpse, if you like, but a living corpse sustained by the blood of the living. If we can find its earth home, a stake driven through the heart destroys the vampire. But this is our task. In such a case, the police, the powers of society are as helpless as the doctors. What bars or chains can hold a creature can turn into a wolf or bat.
Dr. Seward, those dogs howling. I told you they howled that way in Russia when the wolves were about. And a bat? Renfield said there was a bat?
Well, what of it?
Your friend Renfield does not like the smell of wolfsbane.
Well, what in the world has your wolfsbane to do with all
A
this?
vampire cannot stand the smell of wolfsbane.
You suspect that, lunatic?
I suspect no one and everyone. Tell me, who is this Count Dracula?
Dracula? We really know very little about him.
When I was in Transylvania, I heard of a castle Dracula. A famous voivode Dracula who fought the Turks lived there centuries ago.
I make inquiries by telegraph. No, but this thing must be English, or at least have died here. His lair must be near enough to this house that I didn't get back there before sunrise. Oh, my friends, I have only the old beliefs with which to fight this monster. It has the strength of 20 men, perhaps the accumulated wisdom and cunning of centuries.
This all seems a nightmare, but I'm with you, Professor.
And you, Dr. Seward?
It all seems preposterous to me, but everyone else has failed. The case is in your hands at present.
I need allies, not neutrals.
Very well, then do what you will.
Good. Then bring your daughter here.
What are you going to do?
To set a trap. Miss Lucy is the bait.
What? We can't let you do that.
It is the only way. For I believe this thing knows I plan to protect Miss Lucy. This will put it on its guard. The first moment she is alone, it will no doubt try to get at her. For vampire must have blood or its life and death ceases.
No, I forbid this.
She is my daughter and I consent. Well, surely the professor is mistaken.
You consent only because you don't believe, and I do believe. In God's name, Professor, I've heard that lunatic laugh. Life-eating you said he was, and you subject Lucy to that risk?
I must be master her, I can do nothing. I must know in what form this thing comes before I can plan how to stamp it out. Bring your daughter here.